Hello and welcome to From Impossible to Inevitable. I am your host, Megan Bauer. Thank you so much for joining me today and pushing play on today's episode. This is episode 144. I am so excited and thrilled to be here recording for you today. I know that part of the experience that I create for you is that there's always an episode every Friday and every Monday, and there are no blips or skips or anything like that. And so when I am out of my routine, it doesn't make any difference to you. But I have just spent almost 2 weeks traveling, having a great time. And so I have been out of my routine. And of course, I set up the podcast so that you wouldn't miss anything. But I noticed a difference because I wasn't recording and I wasn't involved like I usually am. And so it feels so good to be with you today. One of the things that I want to share with you comes from the first trip that I took, and I went to Moab for a couple of days with my favorite cousin, and we went out and spent a couple of days together. We were kind of glamping in these beautiful permanent tents where in the mornings when I woke up, I had to start a fire in our wood burning stove and heat the place up. It wasn't too cold, but it was cold enough to need a fire. And we spent our days out in nature, hiking and just soaking up the beauty that is southern Utah. Really gorgeous, southeast Utah, I guess, but gorgeous, beautiful red rock. We went to Arches National Park and Canyonlands as well. And we had a great time just being together, just the two of us. One of the experiences that really stuck with me is when we were in Canyonlands. We were in the Island of the Sky area of the park, and we went on a hike to Aztec Butte. Now, the hike to the butte isn't too bad. I mean, there are some inclines and things like that, but it's nothing crazy. The hike up the butte to the top was a different story. And and when we were at the bottom watching people climb up and watching people climb down, we were able to see what would be involved in this ascent and then descent, and we decided to go for it. And I think I might have been a little bit more gung-ho than my cousin, but she was willing to, and she was right there with me, and we decided to do this hike. This climb, really, this climb. And it was, in some areas were so steep that I actually had to be on the balls of my feet and using my hands to go up certain parts of this butte to landings. It was like I would climb up real fast and then I'd get to a landing and I could take a breather and then climb up and like that. And so it was more of a technical climb than we had done in any of our other hikes or any of the other things that we had done. But we both made it to the top, and we walked around the top, and we, took in all the sights and just incredible vast area that is Canyonlands, and just being able to see nature for as far as you can see, and all this beautiful red rock and all of these canyons and everything like that. It was beautiful. And then, of course, we had the way down, which is almost scarier than the way up, because on the way up, all of your momentum is focused on propelling yourself forward and upward and not sliding down and not slipping. And so it's almost harder, to me anyways, to have this controlled descent where you're not just gonna slip and fall and roll and crash and burn. So we made it down the descent slowly, and some of that time it was, being real low to the ground, like crab walking down, being very careful. We were both very careful with it and trying to be very mindful of where we put our feet and our hands and our bums. Eventually, we got down. And at the very end, I was at this little landing, and there was just this little short jump to like the bottom of the butte. And it was like, okay, then that's it. All of the technical part is over. I have reached the bottom. And so I hopped it. I just made this little jump and I landed with both feet, and I turned around and I was like, well, that was fun. And my sweet cousin, she broke out laughing. because she had a much different experience. She had faced a lot of fears on the way up and a lot of on the way down, and she'd conquered these fears like a freaking boss, but she did experience them. And I was scared too, but we definitely had different degree of fears that we faced on our way up and on our way down. And what struck me as soon as she started laughing and was just like, that was fun, what struck me was that we both did the same thing. We took nearly the same routes, and we had two completely, not completely, but we had two different experiences, right? We had two different experiences. And reaching the bottom for me was this like exhilarating, that was so much fun, like I'm not ready to do it again, but it was fun. I would do it again. And reaching the bottom for her was more of like this relief of like, whew, I did it, and that's awesome, and I did it, and it's done, and we're good. We're so good. And situations like that really highlight to me that we have options in our experiences. Okay, we both, I mean, had the fear. We both overcame the fear. We both trusted ourselves more than maybe we normally need to. Of course, we were both relieved when we got down. I was relieved as well that yes, nothing bad happened. Yes, everything worked out. It was all fine. But I took this like measure of playfulness with it as well. And me being able to be playful with it encouraged my cousin to be able to be playful with it as well. Like, because we made it! Hooray! It's time to celebrate. And we took the celebratory picture of her, just like that she conquered this thing, and it was awesome and incredible and just such a fun experience. But the thing that I'm trying to highlight here while getting distracted is that we get to choose our experience. Now, of course, if you wanted to play devil's advocate, there are experiences that are just really awful and they really suck. And yes, we're going to be in those. We're going to feel those. This is not about denying what we feel. This is not about denying the experiences that we have. This is about taking them and searching for what we want to focus on instead. So I know people who have had really awful, life-altering events happen to them, and yet they cite those events as the best thing that could have ever happened to them because they see that all the good that came from it. It's like, because this awful thing happened, all of this that is so good in my life has resulted from it. And I'm grateful that that thing happened. So we get to choose, that is what I'm saying. We get to choose, like we could have gotten down from Aztec Butte and have just, been stuck in the fear that we felt. We could have been like, I can't believe we did that. That was so scary. What were we even thinking? We could have fallen. We could have slipped. We could have fallen off the edge. We could have died, blah, blah, blah. We could have stayed there. Or what we chose to do was to celebrate the victory that we had in overcoming our fears, in overcoming the scary thing, in doing the hard thing. I think sometimes we don't celebrate enough when we overcome, when we do the hard thing. And I'm sure there are people that have hiked up or climbed up Aztec Butte and it was no big deal because they do stuff like that or even harder on a regular basis. And that's fantastic. So good for them. My cousin and I were not in that place. We do not normally climb things. So that was a challenge for us, and we get to celebrate our accomplishment of that. And we get to choose to find the excitement and the fun in what we had just done. So that's really what I've got for you today. Whatever your experiences are right now, even if you'd label them as no thank you, even if you would label them as I'd really rather not, there is a way to shift your perspective. There's a way to find something that's fun or exciting or praiseworthy, even, or something that you can just celebrate, right? I love it when my girls are up against something hard. My youngest right now she's learning how to ride her bike. She's, she's almost got it, but it's still really difficult, especially, if we go down the little, what is it called? At the corner, the street corners on the sidewalk, you can go down and then you go back up on the other side of the street. I can't think of what it's called. But to get on the sidewalk, it's an incline, and that's scary for her to think, how am I going to get this bike up that incline? And of course, as seasoned bike riders, we know you just push a little bit harder and your momentum carries you and it's going to be okay. It's fine. It's no big deal. But that's really scary for her still. And she overcomes it. She does the thing. She works a little bit harder. And of course, I'm right there or Jake is right there. And we encourage her and we tell her she can do it. And we also, we tell her we're right there. And then when she's done it, we're like, I didn't even hang on. You got it all by yourself. And that's scary and exciting and worth celebrating. And so we get to choose that. We get to choose that. So it's an opportunity. A lot of what I talk about here on the podcast is shifting perspectives because we get to choose what things mean. We get to choose how we see things. We get to choose that when we come down from Aztec Butte, whether we're going to be like, I can't believe I did that, and like berate ourselves for doing a scary thing for, maybe no reason, or we can choose to celebrate. We can choose to find the fun in it. Yeah, I was freaked out too, climbing up that and climbing down. But at the end of it, I was like, yeah, we just did something scary. We just did something hard, and that was fun. And seeing things that way will allow other people to see things that way. It will offer that other perspective of like, you don't have to be freaked out anymore because we did it. Now you can say it was kind of fun. Because it was kind of fun. I highly recommend Aztec Butte, even if it challenges you, especially if it challenges you, because you get to see what you're made of a little bit. And yeah, if we had slipped and if we had, whatever, it was really a safe situation. Honestly, it really was. We could have gotten some skinned knees, some skinned elbows, we could have gotten some bruised, we could have gotten a little bumped, but no one was in danger of dying. Not where we were climbing anyway. And that's okay. It's okay to get a skinned knee. It's okay to get, it's okay. It's okay to get a little beat up on our journey, on trying something new, on challenging ourselves, on pushing ourselves. Whenever my girls fall or whatever from like riding a bike or a scooter or just running around being generally wild children and they scrape themselves up, yes, of course, I'm compassionate. Oh, it's okay. Let's get a Band-Aid, blah, blah, blah. But then I remind them, good job. This means you're being a good kid. This means you are doing childhood well. I tell them all the time, kids are supposed to be banged up from trying stuff. They're supposed to be scratched up from falling off their bike. They're supposed to be. That's part of childhood. So I tell them they're being an excellent kid. They're doing a great job at being a kid. And as adults, we don't give ourselves the same grace. We don't, we don't fall, not physically, but however it is that we feel like we fall or feel like we fail, we don't do that and then say, great job trying stuff. We don't say, hey, you failed at that. Good job. Now you know what doesn't work. We beat ourselves up instead and we're upset about it instead. Yes, take care of it, bandage it up, give it some love, and then tell yourself, good job for trying. Good job for making the effort. Good job. Because now you know a little bit more. Now you have a little bit more experience. And yeah, it's unfortunate that you got banged up. That hurts. It really does. And it's going to be okay because you get to move on. You get to continue on a little bit stronger. I tell the girls, like your body's magnificent. It's going to fix it. And in our lives, we get to fix it. We get to try it, stumble, fall, get scraped up, and then try again. We get to keep trying. We do. We really do. So next time you stumble, next time you fail, next time you fall, and whatever it is that you're trying to do, whatever endeavor you're working on, and you get a little banged up, tell yourself, good job. This means I'm trying. And it's unfortunate that I got banged up this time, but it's going to be okay because now I know not to put my foot there. Now I know that that's a little slick. Now I know more. And my next attempt, I will have had experience and I will know a little bit more of what not to do and maybe a little bit more of what to do. Because, of course, in every time that we fail, there's always something that worked. There's always something that didn't work, right? And maybe it's the ratio of like, we label it a failure because the ratio of what didn't work is so much higher than what worked. But it doesn't have to be labeled a failure. That's also a choice. It could just be labeled experience. I was reading about Marie Forleo the other day, and she was telling a story about, she was in this interview, and the interviewer said, tell me about your failures, or something to that effect. And she like didn't know what to say. She was totally like at a loss for words. And afterwards she reflected on it. She's like, what the crap was that? She's like, I make mistakes all the time. Why was I so like, had no idea what to say when they were asking me about my failures? Like, it's not that I don't fail. I fail all the time. Why didn't anything come to my mind? And she said, as she thought about it, she realized that she always reframes her failures. She talked about hearing an old adage when she was in her early 20s, and the adage was, I either win or I learn, I never lose. And that adage has been guiding her. So whenever she hit a quote unquote failure, she always reframed it. She reframed it, I'm learning. I just got experience. So in that sense, she never had a failure because she always got experience. And we get to choose to view things that way as well. We do. So go climb the butte, give it your all. If you get scraped up, congratulate yourself for trying. Bandage yourself up, give yourself some love, and go at it again. And then once you've overcome whatever it is you're working on overcoming, celebrate. And maybe you can't hop down with the, blasé attitude that I had of being like, well, that was fun. That's okay. It's okay to come to the other side of that and fall to your knees in relief. Neither one of us did this, but that's okay too. And be like, I made it. That's great too. And then celebrate yourself because you got to the other side. You did the hard thing. And even if you got banged up, that's okay. It's part of it. It's part of the journey. I'm grateful neither of my cousin nor I got banged up on that journey because honestly, I was very ill prepared for that climb and that hike. And I think all I had on me was my phone. I didn't have any water. I didn't have any bandages, and we would have had to limp back like 1.5 miles to get band-aids. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm grateful that neither one of us got scraped up, but if we had, it would have been okay. It would have been okay. It would have been part of the experience. It's okay to be scraped up. It's okay. All right, that's what I have for you today. Hooray for my traveling. Hooray for Moab. If you've never been to Moab, it's one of my top 2 favorite places on the planet. I highly recommend it. It's a great, cute little town, and the national parks there that are right around that town are phenomenal. Anyways, until next time, I send you all of my love. Bye for now.